This is Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready Set Reiki journey, we refer to ourselves as guides rather than hosts, as we too are traveling, supporting each other, and learning on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I am your first guide, Tracy C. Wright.
And I am your second guide, Kim Cardiel Early.
Wonderful listeners, I have a guest today named Peggy Gaines, RN BSN. So let me tell you a little bit about Peggy here. She is a published author, professional speaker, and a nurse educator. She is a Reiki Master Teacher, a certified meditation instructor. She began her career teaching relaxation and breathing techniques as a labor and delivery nurse in Kansas City. In 1992, Peggy and her family moved to Florida, where she learned to meditate. She has been meditating for over 30 years and began teaching meditation for stress reduction after becoming certified as a clinical meditation specialist. She became a Reiki Master in 2010 and now is a licensed Reiki Master Teacher through the International Center of Reiki Training. She gives Reiki sessions and teaches Reiki classes in Miami and New York City. She currently lives in Coconut Grove, Florida, with her husband, Michael Gaines. Peggy, welcome to Ready Set Reiki.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to just dive into our first question. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a registered nurse. At this point, I'm not practicing clinically, but I keep my nursing license because I like people to feel that what I am teaching is there's a validity, a scientific acceptance and understanding of meditation and Reiki. I have been doing Reiki for quite a while, and it has been part of my spiritual journey.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when did Reiki come into your life? Did you find Reiki or did Reiki find you?
Well, it's really interesting. I'm married to my husband. He is a biology professor at the University of Miami, and we have 2 kids. And life was really good, and everybody's growing up and healthy. And Reiki found me, and it found me through my son. We had just come back from a wonderful vacation. We'd gone on a vacation up to Glacier National Park, which is in Montana. It's a beautiful place. It definitely should be on your bucket list. And we had, my kids and I had gone hiking. We'd gone hiking up to this amazing lake. It's called Iceberg Lake. It's at the top of the mountain, and there's this ravine, and it catches the snow and the rain that fall on the mountains, and it comes down, it creates this lake. And there's a great big boulder of snow in the lake. So that's how it looks like an iceberg. So we're sitting there, and it's just the 3 of us. And it was a pristine day. The sky was so blue, and the air was crisp and clean. And I said, oh, this is where God lives. And it was just amazing. And I told my kids, okay, remember this place. You might need it when you're writing something at school and you have to describe a place, or maybe if you're sick and you're laying in bed and you're trying to transport yourself someplace else. So we come back from that vacation, and it's about 3 weeks before school starts. And my son at that point is going to be a senior in high school. And my daughter was 4 years younger than he. And I'm cleaning a closet. I've got all stacks of stuff, stuff to give away, stuff to clean, stuff to throw out. And my son comes in, and he is a big guy. He's like 6'3". He'd work out. He was, 17. When boys are 17, everything is like Mom, and so he's smart, he's funny, he's a really nice guy. And he'd always had a girlfriend, not the same girlfriend, but from the age of about 12, he liked having a girlfriend. So he comes in and he goes, Mom, Mom. And I go, what is the problem? And he goes, look at me. Look at my smile. And I look at his smile, and his smile is crooked. And he said, look at my driver's license. And he holds up his driver's license, and the smile was perfectly symmetrical. And so as a nurse, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is the problem? And so I thought, okay, I don't think he had a stroke. Maybe he has Bell's palsy, which is a virus that can affect your face. And in the back of my mind, there was another thought that came in, and it was like so bad, I did not want to voice it. Well, it was Friday afternoon, because as a mom, kids only get sick on Friday afternoons when it's impossible to get to the doctor. So I call the doctor. We get in, we get the last appointment of the day. We go in, and the doctor does an exam, and he confirms what my worst fear was. He said, I think he has a brain tumor. And he did. He found out he had a malignant brain tumor, and the bottom just dropped out. All the things that I thought were important, I couldn't care less about. And so we get to the oncology, we get to see the neurosurgeon. That was on Friday. On Saturday, we have a CAT scan. On Monday, we see the neurosurgeon. By Wednesday, he has his surgery scheduled. By Wednesday, he can't speak. It's putting that much pressure. So they remove that tumor, and his speech is back. And his first words were, I love life. And so it was the beginning of this journey. It was, an amazing journey. So a few years before this, I had had trouble sleeping. And so back then in the 90s, I got a cassette tape, which a lot of your audience will probably not know what that is, but there's an old-fashioned device where you could listen. So I would listen to the cassette tape, and I kind of taught myself how to meditate. And pretty soon I'm meditating like 20 minutes a day, and it takes care of the sleep issue. So as we started this journey, my son had the first surgery, and then we ended up going to Duke Medical Center because they have a very good brain tumor clinic. And we have another surgery there. So we would fly up and fly back about every 6 weeks. And I taught my son how to meditate. And we meditate in the plane, we meditate in the exam rooms and the waiting rooms. And it really helped. And this one day, we go into the oncologist office. And if you think, okay, my life, it felt like the bottom dropped out. For my son's life, it's completely upside down. He's supposed to be a senior in high school. He can't go to school because he's taking all this chemotherapy. His immune system is shot. So he has to do his classes online. So he can't hang out with his friends. He had always worked out. So now he's just skin and bones. He has this big, fat, ugly scar all the way down the back of his head. He'd always, he'd worked out, but now he is skin and bones, and he walks with a limp, and his girlfriend's left him. And we go into the oncologist office, and the oncologist says, Nathan, how are you today? Is the glass half full or half empty? And without missing a beat, he said, it's 3/4 full. And I thought, oh my God, he's seeing this. This is his life. And he can't do anything he used to do. And he's seeing it as 3/4 full. And I thought, okay, I have to remember that. And I realized what he was looking at was not what he had lost, but what he had. So we went through this journey, and it went on for about 3 years. And along the way, someone said, have you tried Reiki? And I said, I've never even heard of Reiki. And so a Reiki master came over and gave me some Reiki, and I could feel the energy, gave my son some Reiki, and he could feel it too. It did not change the trajectory, but it was my introduction to Reiki. Well, after about 3 years, his started having, it looked like the brain tumor was gone, but he started having trouble walking. And he would not really admit that in the beginning, but he was holding on to the walls and holding on to me. And I said, you need to use a cane. And he, no, I'm not using a cane. And after a week or two, he said, okay, I'll use a cane. But by then it had gotten so much worse. He would need to use a walker. And that was, I can't use a walker. And within a week, he said, okay, I'll use a walker. But by then he needed a wheelchair. And so he was a paraplegic at that point. We go back to the hospital. We were doing all these different tests. They can't figure out what it is. So we go back to Duke and they do all these tests. And within 8 days, they found what it was. It was a brain tumor that wasn't meant to be found. It was in the thalamus. It was an astrocytoma. It was sort of like fingers that are growing out into the brain. And within 8 days, he's now quadriplegic. And so they said, he probably has 10 days. So we came back, we came home. And, up to this point, I had been the cheerleader. I go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're at Duke. They're great. We're going to do this. And suddenly the game plans changed. And so my biggest concern was that he not be afraid to die. So, when your kids have a difficult situation, you want to help them through it. And so this was something I said, we're talking about everything. So we did. And some of the questions were so innocent and some of them were funny. And like the innocent one was, like, how will I know where to go? And I said, there's going to be a light. You're going to follow this light. And I said, and my dad, his granddad had died not long before. And I said, granddad will be there. You'll feel him. And I had lost a baby between he and his sister. And that baby's name was Eric. And he said, I'll finally get to meet Eric. I said, yes, Eric's going to be there. And then the funny thing was, I'd always liked having a girlfriend. And he said, do you think there'll be any girls my age there? I said, absolutely. I said, had been a girl that had been in his high school, had been killed by a drunk driver a couple years earlier. I said, she'll be there. She'll introduce you to all her friends. So it was an amazing journey. It was an amazing journey. And I would not trade it for anything. There was one time, it was towards, he's on hospice, came home, he's on hospice. And he lived much longer than 10 days. He lived about 83 days. And so we'd meditate. And while we were meditating, he looked like death. He was skinny, he was gaunt, he was absolutely white. He's in this hospital bed and I'm meditating right next to him. And I finish meditating, I look at him and his face is radiant. And I said, Nathan, did something happen while you were meditating? He said, I saw the other side. And I said, you did? I said, what was it like? He said, it was so beautiful. I can't put it into words. And so, this went on and we would get him out of bed every day and put him in this wheelchair. And, we live in Miami. And so we have a pool. And so we'd take him out by the pool or we'd take him out the front door and go for a walk around the block. And there's a big bump every time we go over the threshold. So I thought, okay, I'm going to call Angie's List. I don't know if you guys know of Angie's List, but I'm going to call Angie's List, find somebody who can make a little ramp that I can move from this threshold to this other threshold. So I call this guy. He doesn't know me from Adam. And he comes to the door, and I open the door, and his eyes are like this. And he goes, there are angels all around your house and on top of your roof. I said, well, my son's dying. And it was just amazing. There was just little signs, of all the angel activity in our house. Like the lights would go off and on. And so finally, we got to the day that his lungs became paralyzed. So he could no longer speak. He was just panting. So it stayed for quite a while. And so I'm sitting at the end of the bed, and it's about 4:30 in the afternoon, and there's no light source in the ceiling. There was no light in the ceiling. There are no lights on in the room. There was just a window on one side and a sliding glass door on the other side of the room. And I'm sitting at the end of his bed, and all of a sudden, from the crown of his head going up, there's a column of light. And I thought, where's that light coming from? And I put my hand through it, and I thought, it's his spirit. It's coming from him. And it wasn't just a flash. It stayed for 5 minutes or more. And then all of a sudden, his breathing changed from that panting to what sounded like a normal breath. And I called my daughter in. I said, Heather, get in here. Something's happening. And he took one more breath, and then he was gone. And of course, when he died, I was very sad. But I had never been angry, and I wasn't depressed. I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, I am so grateful. This young man was part of our family for 20 years. What would our family have been without his humor, his love, his insight? And I thought, and I am so glad I got to be his mom. He chose me. And I thought, I'm looking at things 3/4 full. I'm looking at not what I've lost, but what I've been given. And I thought, everybody needs to know how to meditate. Everybody has things they just cannot face. They just go, oh my God, I just want to stay in bed and pull my sheets up over my head. I do not want to deal with this. But that's not where we live. We have to deal with things that we wish we didn't have to. And so I learned how to teach I was going to say Reiki brought it to me, and it probably was Reiki. It brought me this class that I didn't even know about, but I learned how to teach from a perspective of mind body science. So you understood what's going on in your brain when you're meditating. And then I was going to a church, and they said, after service, there's someone talking about Reiki. And I thought, Reiki, that's what Nathan had. So I went and I listened to the person, and I began this journey of Reiki. And it's so amazing. I mean, I've taken a gazillion classes, just like a lot of people have. And I finally found the International Center of Reiki Training, and I really love it. It's a great foundation. It's, and one of the things that drew me to it was that it has this branch that looks at the science. And that's really what drew me to it, because I believe that Reiki and other healing modalities are the future of medicine. But in order for this to be, it can't be woo-woo. We've got to have some science behind it. Even though we know that it's a spiritual energy, we need insurance to reimburse people for it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And, they're starting to do that with acupuncture. And so we need it with Reiki. So my husband's a biology professor. So, he's very, left-brained. And so when I was teaching meditation, he's all for it. But when I was going Reiki, because I didn't know, okay, this seems a little weird. And I said, well, let me just give you a little bit. So I put my hands in his aura, which in science is the biosphere. So I did not put my hands on him. And when they were in the biosphere, he goes, well, you have really hot hands. I said, my hands aren't that hot. What you're feeling is the energy of Reiki. And then I put one hand above his head and one hand above his heart. And he goes, well, I can feel your love. And I said, yes, I love you. But what you're feeling is the energy of Reiki. It feels like love. And he said, oh, I have to start a class on this. He is the advisor for the pre-med students. He said, all of these kids going into medicine need to know there are more ways to heal than just pharmacology and surgery. So he started a class and he teaches, I go in twice. I talk once about meditation, once about Reiki, and I bring some of the kids across the street to my office, give them Reiki, and then they have to go back and tell the class about it. And he has, acupuncture, aromatherapy, hypnotherapy, sound therapy, a bunch of different things, herbalist, and some holistic doctors come in. So, it's my hope that Reiki just continues to flourish and go into, I think Yusui said every family should have a healer. And that's what we want. So once you give me the microphone, Tracy, I just don't quit talking. So I hope that's okay.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for being so authentic and sharing your journey. And I'm so sorry for your loss with
Thank you.
that. So thank you so much for sharing. That's really going to help someone who's out there listening to keep that
I hope
positive
so.
perspective. I mean, because that's something that, we will either face in our life or have already in our journey.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. Our next question is, you've been doing Reiki for some time in meditation. What is a common misperception about your profession?
Well, everyone thinks it's woo-woo. Everyone, the interesting thing is, I think so. When I first started, I thought, when I opened my office, I thought, okay, I'm going to go join a chamber of commerce that meets at 7 a.m. in the morning every week and try to connect with these people. So I went and I said, oh, I teach meditation and Reiki. And so all these real estate and lawyers, they're all standing around in suits and they go, oh, well, there's somebody who does yoga over there. And I thought, okay, this is wrong. So I decided I have to change how I'm presenting this. So instead of when people would say, what do you do? I said, I help people decrease stress. And they go, oh my gosh, stress. We've all got stress. Everybody here needs that. What do you do? So when I connected with them from where they were coming from, and then instead of telling them something that they thought was just weird, they could react differently and be more open. So, I think the way that you talk about it, I just say it's a stress reduction technique. And one of my clients is a neurosurgeon. He comes and, and I brag about the fact that I have a neurosurgeon who comes to me for Reiki and he loves it. So, sometimes I just think people, they just don't, it kind of depends where they are. I mean, I've had people be afraid of meditation. They think it's mind control. So I think there's some people, I don't try to change anybody's mind. I just say it's stress reduction and, maybe you want to give it a try. but I think there are a lot of misconceptions.
Very good. So, what has been the biggest challenge you have faced in your profession?
Oh, you know, I guess actually I've been really fortunate. Things have just seemed to flow for me. And I think a lot, even when I was starting to go into the program of the licensed Reiki Master Teacher, one of the requirements is you have to do 100 in person, or you have to do 100 Reiki sessions. I started right when COVID began. Right after I started, COVID happened. We went into shutdown. I thought, how am I ever going to get 100? And it just, the universe, if you're putting, honestly, our thoughts are more powerful than you can imagine. And so if you just put out, everything always works out for me. If that is the motto, it always does. And I mean, and I can say that even when my son has died, that was his journey. And I'm so grateful I got to help him on this journey. And I would not be doing what I'm doing now, which I love, if I hadn't gone on that journey. If I had not been a part of that, I never would have had the self-confidence. Think I could teach somebody how to meditate, or, I'm not Buddhist. How could I do that? And that led me to Reiki. So I really have found that just by having the right mindset makes all the difference. And I found that, there's even a higher vibration that you can put out, because the universe is lit. They are giving you not what you want, but what you are. And so if you put out a vibration of absolutely nothing could make me happier than I am right now, absolutely nothing could make me, and you could say, well, maybe this could be better, but nope. If you put out absolutely nothing could make me happier than I am right now, that's a high vibration. The universe has to match that. So it's going to bring you back. It's going to bring you stuff that you didn't even know you wanted. It is going to bring you like the most amazing gift. If you open up a gift and you think, I didn't even know they made those things. It's perfect. That's what it's going to bring to you. It's going to bring you opportunities. It's going to bring you clients. It's going to bring you solutions. If you have those, if those are your vibrations, and it's not, how am I going to, I don't have enough clients. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's fear. That's lack. No, absolutely nothing can make me happier than I am right now. It flows. It just flows. It's magic. It is. It's magic. And when you combine that with Reiki, it's like dynamite. It really is.
Wonderful. Love that. Love that perspective of it. And it just shows our listeners positive attitude, right?
Absolutely.
Trust the process, trust the
Yeah.
universe, right?
Divine timing, right?
Absolutely. And those synchronicities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what is something you wish your younger self knew about your current profession?
Oh, well, I feel like I feel like I've been on this journey for a long, long time. I, like I was in labor and delivery, which is not that far. I was teaching Lamaze classes. And during that time, there would be occasionally there'd be a baby that died. And so that was my training for getting me ready for other things that were going to happen in my life, and learning how to deal with helping people say goodbye to this little infant, helping them say goodbye. And that you have to say hello before you can say goodbye. So bringing this little baby in. And then I lost a baby at like 7 months gestation. And, and that was a gift too, because it was a way, it happened in December. And so someone gave me this little ornament that was an angel. And so every year we called that Eric's ornament. And every year I talk with my kids about Eric. How old would Eric be? And I said, you already know somebody in heaven. And so it was a nice way to talk about death, and that death wasn't something to be afraid of, that you already knew somebody there. And so that was getting me ready for this. And when my son was dying, I realized it's the same process as helping someone come into the world. You're helping someone leave the world. That in both, from the infant coming down that birth canal and somebody leaving, you're both going towards the light. And it's a little scary on both ends. But both there's new life from both perspectives. So, I think just letting myself, I had made one detour that I thought I wasn't doing enough with nursing. And so I went to law school for a year and a half. And I thought, wow, this is the wrong place for me. And I got out. So like my younger self would have said, will you just relax? That is not for you. Just go with the flow. You're on the right track. But I had to figure that out. So I would just tell myself, trust the process. It's all unfolding just the right way, just the way it should.
Wonderful. So, when it is time for you to get your energetic tune up, or when you go and you seek out classes or trainings from a Reiki Master Teacher, what are some qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner, healer, or Reiki Master Teacher?
I like to hear them talk before I take a class from them. Like if they have a podcast, or if they're, doing something, maybe they're speaking someplace, because I can kind of feel their energy. And then, I always want someone that's a few steps ahead of me, that I'm looking for new perspectives, new insights, because I'm, we're all on this journey, and I want to grow, I want to expand, but I am also a teacher. I've always loved teaching. And so anything that I learn, I want to share it with people that, who I come in contact with, whether it's through a Reiki class or a meditation class. So I'm always looking and reading new things and listening to people. I just think that's the exciting thing. There's so much out there. You have to you don't want to, in my opinion, it's like, okay, got to stay focused. Don't be a jack of all trades and master of none. I mean, there are certain things I know that, I'm not going to become an expert in. So I'll let somebody else be an expert in it. But it's nice to have experts around that I can turn to and refer people to. I don't have to know all the answers.
Wonderful. So, as a teacher in this beautiful ICRT program, what advice would you give someone who is just entering this profession?
Oh, it is the future. It is the future. And this is the energy of the world. Is everybody can feel it. It's elevating, it's changing. And when you are entering Reiki, whether you're just starting your Reiki 1 and 2 class, or if you decided, I want to go into the LRMT program, you're on this wave, and you are bringing this light into the world. And you are, even if you don't want to be a teacher, you are, every cell of your body vibrates with this light. It goes into your aura. You are a beacon of light. And so you're changing, you're bringing more light and lifting the collective consciousness just by taking a Reiki class. You're changing, I think you're changing the DNA in you. I really do. They're shown with meditation that it changes the amygdala. And I think with Reiki, we're changing much more than they even have been able to understand and recognize. So I think it's exciting. I think it's so exciting. I'm always so happy when new people are signing out because you can use it in every aspect of your life. The only thing that limits Reiki is your imagination.
Absolutely. You just need to take that first step. And it doesn't mean you have to stay there in Reiki. It can elevate you to something else. We're
Absolutely.
able to interview people who they started their journey with Reiki and it has brought them to being a tarot reader or a shaman.
Yes.
So it can really
Yes.
take you anywhere because it
Yeah.
begins that healing within to give you that confidence, right? To open that third eye.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like this step, just one step, and then you're going through this doorway, and who knows where it's going to lead you. It's very exciting. I think it's all very exciting.
All a part of the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what books do you recommend?
Oh, well, there are a lot of books that I recommend. Um, at the moment, let's see. There's one by Michael Singer called The Untethered Soul. I think that's a very good book. The book by Eckhart Tolle is someone that I really I've taken classes from, and the New Earth. In the New Earth, he talks about that we have not stopped evolving. But the next evolution is a spiritual evolution. And he talks about the time when when the earth existed and there was only green. And then one day, the environment was just right. And the very first flower bloomed. And then there was another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And all of a sudden, there was a proliferation of flowers. And that's what happened with people who are enlightened. Over the course of time, there's been one person here and one person there and another person here. And now we're all waking up. This is what's happening with people. We're all on this journey. We don't have to be Buddha. We are waking up. We are that flower that's blooming, and the whole world. This is what the new earth is. This is what the fifth dimension is when we all wake up.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those recommendations, reads for our curious beginner and even the seasoned master teacher discovering.
I have one more book I'm going to recommend. That's this book, 3/4 Fall. This is a book that I wrote. It's very short. It's not sad. It is 10 things that I learned going on this journey with my son. And the reason that I wrote it, one time when he was on hospice, because I never thought of myself as a writer. He's on hospice and he's completely paralyzed. He's at home in a hospital bed. And so I slept in a bed in the same room in case he needed something in the middle of the night. So one night he wakes up about 3 o'clock and he goes, "Mom, Mom." And I go, "What? What?" And he goes, "Take my picture." And I think, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, whatever you want. I'll try and do whatever things I can for you during this period of time. So I get up, I take a couple pictures, and I said, "Nathan, why did you want me to take your picture?" And he said, "I don't want you to forget about me." And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Of course, I was never going to forget him. But what I didn't want forgotten were all the beautiful lessons that he taught me, the 3/4 full, where that name comes from. That's what I learned from him. And I learned there are other lessons that I learned from him in here. And so I included him. So it's on sale on Amazon.
Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful, wonderful. So, what other modalities do you offer? Do you offer classes, trainings?
Yes, I offer classes. I teach classes both on Zoom and in person in New York City and in Miami, Florida. And so there are classes in Reiki. I do I do Reiki 1 and 2, the Master and Karuna. And then I teach meditation. So I teach meditation one-on-one or in small groups or online. I do it also for corporations. I've taught a lot of meditation for corporations because people have stress. And it's really important to, we can't look to the outside world and find peace because you're not going to find it. You just turn on the radio or the TV or anything. You've got to find peace within. And so the meditation that I teach helps you. You can find peace within. And then it doesn't matter if the sky is falling. You can be calm in the center of a storm.
Where can we find you to take a class, meditation? Are you online, or
Yeah.
how do we get in touch with you?
Yes. So you can look at my website. It's peggygaines.com, and it's Gaines with an E at the end. So Gaines. And I'm on Instagram. And, I've got I put that on that little link on the information that I sent you. So, if you have that, if you could add that in your notes or something, because I'm afraid I'm going to tell you it wrong the way if I tried to remember.
Very good. It will be added. And also on
Okay.
Reiki.org, Reiki.org.
Oh, Reiki.org. That's where lots of that is.
All your classes.
That is a great place. That's where a lot of people find me. Reiki.org.
Wonderful. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey with you. I really appreciate you being so honest and raw with us. It's just an amazing journey that you had. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass you over to my co-guide, Kim, who has 3 social media questions just for you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Tracy. It was nice talking with you. Bye-bye.
Oh, Peggy, I was not expecting to cry like that. My goodness. And you know what's so crazy is when that intro was coming in, my guys were like, ground yourself a little bit. I don't know if you saw me, my eyes were closed. My guys, and Tracy knows I haven't done that in any, and they were like, ground yourself just a little bit extra before you go into this session. And I was like, okay, now I know why. I was like, okay. And my condolences, and just I think your story is so beautiful. Like, I read the Akashic records, and that's why I think when people can understand why and how we are tied to the people that come and go out of our life, makes it a beautiful thing instead of what we're programmed to cry and be sad and think of it as the lower vibration of a loss when it wasn't, so just love everything you have said. So
Oh, thank you.
first question is, yes, that I don't know if you saw me, I was like this the whole time. But so what inspired you to actually start your spiritual business?
Well, it was really after my son died, it was so funny. I thought, okay, I want to do meditation first because I thought that I had been using that every single day. And I thought, well, I am not a Buddhist. How do I learn? How do I know how to teach meditation? So being a nurse, I was on this mailing list. And I would get these magazines, a quarterly magazine that was filled mostly with advertisements and a few articles about nursing. And I would never, ever, 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 I never, ever read it. It would arrive, I would put it in the recycling bin. Arrive, I put it in the recycling bin. And after my son died, it arrived. And for some reason, I took it and I opened it up to the middle. And the page that I opened it to was an ad that said meditation certification classes for healthcare providers. The universe said, here, this is what you're supposed to be doing. So that's how I got started. And then I was just at that, service, and someone said, they're talking about Reiki. And the universe just brought that. I just happened to be there that time. And I thought, that's what we had when Nathan was sick. And I thought, I'm going to go and see what this is. And that was the beginning of this journey. So the universe has led me every single step of the way. Every single step.
Yeah, I'd say when you believe, I love what you said about the power of the mind too, because that's what I tell all my clients, I'm like, you give so much power away and you have no idea how powerful your own
Exactly.
mind is, you know?
Yeah.
So, just love that. The next question is, so how do you measure the impact of your work on your clients or like customers' lives?
Well, when they come in, I'll ask them, what do you want to work on? And then I'll ask them to give it a number because I think that we're in society, we measure. And if someone has a Reiki session and then they leave and somebody says, well, how was it? And they go, yeah, it was good. But how much did it help? I don't know, maybe it helped a little bit. But if you say, okay, this stress that you're feeling at work, if you gave it a number from 0 to 10, what number would it be? And they'll say, it's an 11. And you go, okay. So then we go through and we do Reiki. And then I'll say, okay, now think about the issue that you started with. It was an 11. What number would you give it now? And they'll say, it's a 4. I'll go, great. So then in their mind, they have a way of measuring that even when they leave, they say, I do remember it did go from 11 to 4. And even if it went down 1 or 2 beats, that's a change. Sometimes people will just come back and tell me it just, like there was one woman who came in and I always like to undersell and over deliver. Like I never make any promises.
Mm-hmm.
People come in because you're healing. If somebody comes in with a physical problem, Reiki is going to the source. So it's healing not only in the physical, it's healing on the emotional and the spiritual level. So when they get done, like if they come in for a sore, their neck is sore, and then you get done and you're feeling better. And they go, yeah, I'm feeling better. But they think, well, but I still have this pain. But what happens? Reiki doesn't stop when the session stops. It's continuing. And so it is working on a level that they don't even realize that perhaps it's going to the source, and the source is the way, perhaps the source is the way that they're looking at their boss or their coworkers or the situation. And once they begin to shift the way that they're seeing something, their body relaxes. So Reiki so then they find, even after I left, I was feeling more relaxed and I just let things roll off my back. I had somebody just the other day say, after that session with you, I realized things that really bothered me, they just rolled off my back. And we hadn't even talked about that. But that was one session, you know?
Mm.
So, sometimes people will tell me, they came for a bunch of, when you have a physical issue, it's going to take longer usually because
Mhm.
I tell people, look, if it's an emotional thing, it has not come solid in your body yet. It's
Mhm.
still in your energy system. And so it's easier to clear smoke than it is to push a boulder. So
Mhm.
Reiki will help with the physical things, but it may take more time. So, I had somebody who came in, she had a trouble with her rotator cuff and thought she was going to have surgery. And she came and she came and she came, and I never said it would help with it. I just said, I don't know. We'll just see. And she came every week, every week, every week, every week, every week. And then all of a sudden she didn't come. And about a year later, she comes in and I said, whatever happened to the rotator cuff? And she said, oh, I didn't have to have surgery. Reiki took care of that. I said, well, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah,
I could have known
right.
that, but I would never in a million years have said, this is going to take care of that. But, because it's up to Reiki to decide how we're going to work on this.
Mhm.
Maybe it's the physical, maybe it's the emotional, maybe it's something way in your past that needs to heal. And then the present will heal.
And and we know as Reiki practitioners, you could do Reiki till you're blue in the face, but if that person doesn't do the shifts that they need mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever we do is just temporary. Do you know what I mean? All
Right.
right, your shoulder is going to feel good for the next 2, 3 hours. It's up to
Right.
you if you want it to feel good forever. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
because it's all tied. Yeah, so that's true. Like, and it's funny because with ego too, and I just love how you were so open. Like when your son did get sick and somebody suggested Reiki, because I know so many people. I have an acquaintance who lost her husband who was struggling with depression, and she refused Reiki. She was like, "Well, I read the Bible. We don't believe in that." And I was like, "Okay, I
Yeah.
respect
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
And the ego is like, I couldn't even call myself a healer. I call myself a Reiki practitioner
Oh,
as I
yeah.
got
Right.
grew,
Right.
because I couldn't even say healer. And I was like, but I'm
Right.
not.
All
So
right.
yeah.
I know what
Um,
you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So so going a perfect lead into the last question, right? So, speaking of the Bible and all that, how do your personal spiritual beliefs influence your business practices? Because you haven't really talked about, like, did you come from church, or how were you raised? And, you
Well,
know,
my husband, I mean, okay, so I was raised Catholic. I am not a practicing Catholic. My husband is Jewish and
okay.
not really he's more of a cultural Jew, a deli Jew is what, So, so with my kids, I said, look, there definitely is God. And we want to connect with them, and it's kind of a journey that we each take on our own. And we had the energy of God in our house, and I always had felt close to God. And
Mm.
but it's interesting that I started having trouble sleeping several years before this happened with my son. And there wasn't a lot of meditation around at that time in this part in Florida. And I heard somebody was talking about meditation. I thought, okay, I'll try that. It's supposed to help with sleeping. And it was all part of the plan, because I had that wasn't that was divine timing. I was given that sleep problem, so I would find meditation. I
Mhm.
had meditation to help me through this. It was like God said, look, you're going to go through a tough time. You need something to help you with this. And so I learned meditation. And when I was going through that time with my son, I never felt closer to God. And yet when we had a memorial service for him, and it was in the park. And had, we had m- we all just talked. It was a celebration. It was a celebration. And it was very spiritual, but it was our celebration. It was a celebration of joy for the experience of having our son. So,
Mhm.
and yet we're very spiritual. We're
Yeah.
very spiritual as a family in it. And it's been, and let me tell you, it's really nice having connections on the other side. It's
Yes.
yeah,
I will give an amen and a hallelujah to that, Peggy. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really. Ah, well, we could be on here for 2 hours with every time I'm even like helping, or even when I was on as a guest, like, let's just keep going. But is there anything, yeah, right? Is there anything that you feel that, maybe we forgot to ask you, or you feel that's important for the listeners to know?
No, I think you've asked wonderful questions, and I talked too much, and but I just think I think life is we are just so. I mean, we are these spiritual beings that have chosen to come into this human body, have this human
Mm.
experience. So I think with anything that happens, I will tell you that we all have, as we all know, we all have really terrible, let's say, challenging things in life happen. And I think it's important to, like, when my son died, I thought, okay, a lot of parents have their children die, but that's not the norm. And so I thought, I've been given an opportunity and I don't want to blow it. I
Mm.
don't know why this happened, but I do not want to be like a delinquent teenager sitting in the back of the high school auditorium saying, this is a stupid class. I can't learn anything from this. I want to sit in the front row And I never was a math. I can't understand math. And, I want to sit in the front row and it feels like it's an upper level physics class that's way over my head. But I want to learn as much as I can from this situation, from this opportunity. I go, okay, I get that concept and I understand this concept. I want to learn as much as I can because I was given this opportunity and I don't want to squander it. I met somebody along the way who said, I had cancer, brain cancer, and they told me I only had a 5% chance of living, and I made it. And let me tell you, there's nothing good about cancer. It stinks. I
Hmm.
didn't learn anything from it. And I thought, that is a tragedy. You went through that and you didn't learn anything? What a waste. What a
I
waste.
have, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I know a couple of those souls, and I'm like, oh, I guess you're gonna deal with that in your next lifetime. Okay, got it.
exactly. Exactly. Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
let's go to the
Oh,
next, let's go to the, I don't want to be stuck in third grade again. Let's go
that
a little
part.
higher, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. The only time I've ever enjoyed learning was it's all this stuff. Why am I here? What
Yeah.
am I doing? How can I help the consciousness? Yeah,
Yes.
totally agree.
Yeah.
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 Oh, well, Peggy, thank you so much. This is going to
Yeah.
conclude my part of the journey with you, and I'm going to pass the
Thank you,
mic back
Kim.
to Tracy. It was so nice meeting you. Thank you.
It was great to meet you too. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
And thank you again, Kim and Patty. Peggy, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. I really appreciate it so much, taking time out of your busy
It's
schedules.
my pleasure. It's always fun talking about this kind of stuff, right? About spiritual stuff. It's fun. So thank you
Absolutely.
all very much. And I'll see you on the journey. Okay.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay.
All right, our wonderful listeners, if you are interested in having your question featured on Ready Set Reiki, reach out at www.readysetreiki.com. Find us also on Feather Sister Wellness, where there's a variety of yoga classes, Reiki, and Reiki trainings as well. So I'm going to leave you with may your glass always be 3/4 full. So thank you so much for coming on this journey with us. This is Ready Set Reiki, and I'm Tracy C. Wright.